Greetings and welcome to another Deckard Games YouTube thing. On today's thing, and once again, we're going to take a look at some pickups, in this case for the month of May, and there's a lot of Nintendo here. So I'm wearing my Super Mario t-shirt. Before we do that, have you subscribed to the channel already? If not, click that subscribe button and then let's look at the video. So as I've stated, there's a lot of Nintendo in this month. I'm not a big NES guy, but still there's lots of Nintendo. But let's start with Sega. You gotta start with Sega. I got Batman Returns on the Master System. A cool action platformer. Great game. I have already played this one. I played it back in the day also. It's a good platformer, a good action platformer, and you play as the Dark Knight. Batman Returns on the Master System. Another Master System game, RoboCop vs. Terminator. Another action platformer and another good action platformer. You can't go wrong with RoboCop and the Terminator together. This was the kind of movie that I wanted to see back in the day, but we never got it. We got the game instead, and it's a good game. Another action platformer, RoboCop vs. Terminator. And for the PlayStation Vita, I got Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two. Another platformer, in this case in the PlayStation Vita. It's a good game. It reminds me a little bit of the first 3D platformers like Super Mario 64. It's a good game on the PlayStation Vita. It was a very cheap game, and another game to add to my very modest PlayStation Vita collection, Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two. It has 2 tubes on the name. That's weird. Whatever. Epic Mickey. And on the PlayStation 4, I got from Limited Run Games, Thimbleweed Park. An old school adventure game from the guys that did Maniac Mansion and the Monkey Island series. You can't go wrong with a game like this. An old school adventure on a modern system. The game is still available on the digital version on the Play Store. Check it out. You can't go wrong with Thimbleweed Park. If you like adventure games, pure adventure games, you won't regret playing this one. Now let's go to the big box stuff. In this month I only got 2 games, but I'm very happy with the 2 games that I got. They are very special to me. The first one being Duke Nukem 3D. I got my balls of steel back. Classic first-person shooter on the PC. You can't go wrong with Duke Nukem. It's an eternal classic on the PC again. If you never played, if you never heard of Duke Nukem 3D, you're not from this world. If you never played Duke Nukem 3D, please do so. I'm super excited to have this big box back in my collection. I owned it back in the day. I don't know where it ended up. I got it back now, and I'm super happy to have Duke Nukem 3D in my collection once again. Still in the big box side of things, another game that I owned back in the day, another game that I played through hundreds and hundreds of hours, not only the single player campaign, but especially online and with friends on cyber cafes throughout the night. And the game is, of course, StarCraft from Blizzard. Real-time strategy game, probably the best RTS of all time. I already loved games like Warcraft 1 and 2, and when I saw StarCraft I thought that it must be some kind of Warcraft in space, and it blew my mind. Again, one of the best real-time strategy games of all time. I've said that if you never played Duke Nukem 3D, you're not from this world. The same applies to StarCraft. You're not a real-time strategy game guy if you never played StarCraft. You can't go wrong with it. I'm super happy to have the big box version of StarCraft back in my collection. So we finally get to Nintendo, and the reason why I'm wearing this Mario t-shirt. I got a few NES games here, the first one being Bad Dudes, a game that started on the arcade, an action platformer game, action brawler kind of game, way better on the arcade than on the NES, but still it's a fun game, super hard, the controls are not very tight. Yeah, Bad Dudes on the NES. Another game on the NES, Spider-Man Return of the Sinister Six. And as you can see, the Rainbow of Doom, it's from LJN. Yes. It's not as bad as people say. It's an okay platformer. It's Spider-Man on the NES. I kind of like it. It's not a spectacular game, but it's not that bad of a game. It's an okay game. Spider-Man from LJN on the NES. Another game on the NES, and this one came with a manual. You already seen the name, Blades of Steel. Ice hockey. This is for me one of the best games on the NES, made by Konami. You can't go wrong with Konami, with a few exceptions, but that's not the point here. Blades of Steel. It's a great sport game, ice hockey on the NES. You can't go wrong with this one. It has great graphics for that era, great sound. It's a great game on the NES, Blades of Steel. Another game on the NES, RoboCop, another action platformer. There's a lot of action platformers today. Again, like Bad Dudes, not that great of a game. There are lots of NES games that are not great, but they are not also as bad as people like to say. Another okay game on the NES, and again, you play with RoboCop. I absolutely loved the movie back in the day. I had the toys, so I couldn't go wrong with RoboCop on the NES. I owned this game back in the day, but I lost it. I don't know what happened, and I got it back, RoboCop on the NES. Still another game on the NES. This one a pure platformer, Super Mario Bros. 2, the follow-up to the first one. Everybody knows the first game, Super Mario Bros. The first one is better. The third one is also better, but again, Super Mario Bros. 2, great platformer, kind of Super Mario Bros. 2, now that I come to think about it. The version that we had in Europe and in the US, it's not the same game that was released in Japan, but still, it's a good game, back in the collection, Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES. And yet another NES game, the bundle of Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. Everybody knows these two. I'm not going to talk about it. I didn't own the bundle cart, and I bought it. I also bought the Nintendo Zapper, so you can play Duck Hunt. A reminder that the Zapper does not work on modern televisions. You need an old school CRT TV to use the Nintendo Zapper, or any light gun. So, Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt back in the collection. And yet another game on the NES, Double Dragon. This one is a brawler, you can't go wrong with the Double Dragon series. This is the first entry on the franchise. I'm a beat 'em up guy, I keep saying this, and I love my brawlers. This is one of them. I love Double Dragon on the NES. I didn't own it back in the day. I played it on the Famicom, and I'm super happy to have Double Dragon in my collection. And the final NES game is Tecmo's World Wrestling. Wrestling game on the original Nintendo. There's a lot of them, a lot of wrestling games. This one is quite okay. It's not that great of a game, but it's good. It's fun, fun with wrestling. Nothing much to say about it. Tecmo World Wrestling in my collection for the NES. And last but not least, and no, we are not done with Nintendo stuff. I finally got my Game Boy. So after all these years, and it came of course with Tetris. After all these years, I got my very first DMG Game Boy. Let me know what kind of games should I get to the original Game Boy, and I'm happy. I'm happy to have the Game Boy on my collection. It's a classic. I believe every serious collector should own one, and that's it. I have the Game Boy on my collection now. And that's it. These are my pickups for the month of May. Again, lots of Nintendo here. If you like seeing videos like this, leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Also, click that bell icon to receive notifications every time a new video comes up. I'll see you in the comment section below, and until my next video, take care.